Hey everybody, welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source for quality, affordable land in the state of New Mexico. So we've got two properties we're going to discuss in today's video. This video will be posted on both of their listing pages. The properties are not adjacent, but they're pretty close to one another, so pretty much all the information discussed here is going to pertain equally to both. The only exceptions here being the acreage and the price point of these lots. And I'll get to that in just a second. So these properties are part of a recent string of acquisitions that we've had where we've been fortunate enough to buy, to find, and then purchase adjacent lots in subdivisions where the developers kind of chopped it up in such a way in which it's really hard to find adjacent lots for various reasons, particularly anything over 1 acre. So if you're watching this video and you think, 1.5, 2 acres worth of land is not all that much, it's not, but in these areas, it gives you literally 100% more land than all of your neighbors have, or really than most all of your neighbors have. And by neighbors, I mean anyone within about, within multiple miles of you. So point being, we really like when we get these, particularly out in Rio Rancho, where it's really difficult to do this sort of thing, and our buyers really like these. So with all that said, I will let you guys explore these listing pages on your own. I'm going to work off this page, but I'm going to say that this $2,500 property is 1.5 acres. It's a combination of 3 adjacent half-acre lots. And this other property that we're selling for $3,000, it's 2 lots that total 2 acres. They have kind of a weird, 1.2 acres and 0.8 acres or something like that. But the point is, if you want to learn more about these respective properties, please go to their individual listing pages, view the photo gallery at the bottom of the page, view the plat maps at the bottom of the page, pull these things up on a map, and you'll be able to get a better sense of how they differentiate one from the other. With all that said, I'm going to work off this listing page. So with all this said, let's pull this up here. I think I just said the same thing twice. To look at this on a map, come down here, scroll down here, click on the GPS coordinates, any one of them, and on Google Maps, the property will appear. So first, let's just go to map view and pull back. For those of you who don't know, for those of you who are just sort of exploring buying land in New Mexico for the first time and you're not familiar with Rio Rancho, I'm sure you're familiar with Albuquerque. This is up here in the north central part of the state. Rio Rancho sits just northwest of Albuquerque, roughly about 20 miles northwest. And Rio Rancho is one of these sort of dense population centers of the state and one of the fastest growing towns in the state. I believe it's the it might be the second or third largest population center in the state, behind only Albuquerque and Las Cruces. And it may be ahead of Las Cruces. But the point is, you've heard of Santa Fe, you've heard of Taos, and this town is bigger. It's got more people, it's got more development, it's got more stores and dining, restaurants, shopping, nightlife, so on and so forth. Point being that this is a growing area, and it's growing particularly because Albuquerque can't really expand to the west for various reasons, can't really expand south. It can only go so far east, but it continues to grow northwest. So a lot of people who work in Albuquerque tend to live out here in Rio Rancho. And if we go back to satellite view and just kind of zoom in on the map, here where Rio Rancho starts, you can see what this dense concentration of population that I'm talking about looks like. You can see how this area is getting built up and how it's just sort of rapidly growing out here. Anyway, the subject properties that we're talking about are off here in Unit 23. And if that doesn't mean anything to you, let me go down here to the gallery. This is a unit map of Rio Rancho. So the developed units are like 16, 10, 13, 11, so on and so forth, all the blue areas of the map. 23 is out here in the more remote part of the subdivision. Now, really, once you get past this blue area, pretty much all the roads out here are dirt roads, but the county and the city of Rio Rancho do a pretty good job of maintaining even the most, obscure, far-flung road. And additionally, utilities, as far as power lines go, they kind of, they're really all throughout this section, but they kind of die off the further north you go. And out here, you'll find more commercial or industrial power lines. You don't find so much residential. You will find people living out here, but many of them tend to utilize solar. Whatever the case, these properties are out here in this Unit 23, in this more remote area where you've got more privacy, etc. So these specific lots that we're talking about in this video are here off of Triumph Road, these 3 adjacent half-acre lots, to get a sense of what these look like, or even what the other properties, lots look like. We've got plat maps here in the gallery that'll give you a good sense of the size, shape, location of the property, and how it's situated with the roads. One thing I just want to point out to you up here, if you're talking about getting power extended out to a property, we always like to point out where the nearest source of that is. With this property, well, actually with both properties, it's down here where King meets Torcito. power lines here running up and down King Boulevard. These are going to be your nearest source. So out here to this property, that is roughly, if we right click and measure distance, you'll see that it's roughly about 3/5 of a mile. Now that being said, you know, are you going to call the power company and have them extend power lines out to this region? It's probably very expensive. You might want to call just to find out if they're going to be servicing that region. But the point is that solar is a good alternative to use out here. And you'll notice some home sites in this area, some people who actually live not only off of Triumph, but just sort of in this region, some over here, some over here. A lot of these people are utilizing solar. Now, I'm just going to show you some pictures of the land, and while we do this, you'll see some home sites that are in the area. As with all the properties that we list here on HemingwayLand.com, the photos that we've got here in the gallery are from this specific region, are from the property itself. So you get an excellent sense of what this is like. First, with the road conditions out here, you know, this property sits roughly about 4.5 miles from paved roads, but as noted earlier, the roads in this area are actually pretty well maintained, certainly navigable by any vehicle type. Though we always recommend that if you're going to go out there to scout the property first time out there, you should probably take a truck, probably take a larger sort of off-road vehicle, be able to handle it. Additionally, some of the takeaways from these photos, as you can see, is that you've got some nice flat land out here that makes it easy to build, easy to park on. If you're going to be putting a mobile home out there, or a modular home, mobile home with cement foundation, something like that, you know you're not going to have to do a lot of digging, a lot of excavating, a lot of removal of rocks and trees and things like that. You're not going to have to grade the land or flatten it. It's pretty much all, you know, set up for you. You know, maybe you come and clear it a little bit, certainly, but not too much work involved in that. Now, these are some of the industrial sort of power lines I was talking about that sit pretty close to this property. They sit a little further from the other property. So, you know, perhaps if that is the thing, perhaps if you feel like these are blocking your view, you might want to check out the other lot, etc. But the point is that they are fairly close by to both, and that might be a deciding factor for you. I don't know. Anyway, as we go through the gallery, you're not only going to get a sense of the property, but you're also going to see the nearby homes that are in this region. So this is one of the nicer ones that's out there, and as you can see, they're utilizing solar power to power their establishment out here. This also looks like a mobile home with probably a permanent foundation. I believe permanent foundations are pretty much mandatory for anybody who's going to put down a home site like this in Rio Rancho. Though one of the nice things about Unit 23, one of the sort of selling points, and here are some other nearby home sites, one of the sort of selling points when you get out here into these remote regions is that it's policed a lot less. Whatever restrictions are in place per zoning rules are probably enforced a lot less out here. And so you will find people who are just sort of have RVs parked out there, or have, a collection of sort of junk cars on their land. That's kind of an eyesore, but it doesn't seem like the counties do anything about that. So, if you're looking at property where you can just go and sort of camp or hang out, or you're not in the mood or you don't necessarily have the money to start building something, start constructing something anytime soon, but you do want to have the land for the next few years while you save up for that. This may be a good region for that. Or if you just want a piece of property where you can go shoot guns and hang out on the weekends, which a lot of our buyers want to do, this may be a good one for you. The thing with these properties, with these Rio Rancho properties, is that, as I noted earlier, within the entirety of Rio Rancho, within the entirety of this map that you're seeing right here, everything that equals Rio Rancho, the way that this subdivision was platted out and resold back in the 50s, you don't find adjacent lots. So when you get something like this, where it's 3 half-acre lots, or even 2 1-acre lots, or whatever the combination is, it not only gives you more land than your neighbors, but it also gives you more opportunity to make money off that land in the future. Particularly because you can live on one of the properties, you can resell the other. We've been fortunate enough that we're listing a 5-acre property in this region as well. I mean, that's really one where the person who buys that is going to have the opportunity to flip that to a developer somewhere down the road. Maybe less so with a 1.5 or a 2-acre property, but easily a private owner who does want to live out there. This is something that you can resell to them and make a profit. This is something that you can, pretty easily live on one, resell the other, or just have a larger swath of land for your family. Maybe you're on one parcel of land and parents are on the other one, or the kids are on the other one, or what have you. Anyway, a couple things just want to make you guys aware of here in the table. Number one, we have up here zoning PDF. If you click on that, it's called the comprehensive zoning PDF, but it's only about 3 pages. Whatever the case, it'll give you a sense of what is and is not permissible within this region. That being said, this is only so helpful. We always recommend to our buyers, anybody who wants to do appropriate due diligence on what they can build, what they can park in these regions, reach out to Sandoval County, the Planning and Zoning Office, or what may even be more appropriate, City Government of Rio Rancho. click on either one of these. It's going to take you to their respective websites where you can get contact information for them, and you can reach out to them and talk to them. You know, if I were buying property in this region and I wanted to do whatever, you know, anything that's not single-family residence. Single-family residence is pretty much going to be permitted anywhere. But if you want to put down a, you know, whatever, a mobile home or an RV or something like that, or even if you want to do something unconventional, tiny homes, shipping container homes, things like that. Tiny homes are probably not going to be allowed out here. Shipping container homes, yes, but probably with just certain permits. So if you call them up and say, hey, I'm looking to buy some land out there in Rio Rancho, specifically in Unit 23, it's still a pretty undeveloped region. I was just wondering if you can give me some guidance as to what I can and cannot get away with out there. You know, that's a good conversation to have before you give me or anyone else money for land. Something we always encourage with our buyers. Additionally, we've got some other helpful links down here that might help you with some research. PNM, of course, is the local utility that services this region. As noted, power lines, residential power lines, are not close to these properties, or at least not close enough for inexpensive, you know, extension of lines. That being said, if you do want to have that conversation, if you do want to reach out to them and say, you know, hey, I'm looking to buy a property, it's located on Triumph Road, and nearest power line seems to be down here on Torcito and King, you know, roughly about X, you know, 3/5 of a mile, whatever it is. You know, what is that going to cost to get extended? Is that something you guys even do? Are you planning on running power up Torcito anytime soon, to the point where, you know, it might be easier for me to, if I just wait this out for a year and a half? Good conversation to have with them. And additionally, whenever you're buying vacant land like this, we anticipate you're probably going to want to, you know, drill a well. And if that's the case, you'll want to talk to the office of the state engineer there in New Mexico. They, of course, control not only water rights within the state, but also well permitting within the state. So any sort of residential or commercial well permit has to go through them. If you want to get a sense of water table depth, you know, people always call and they ask us this, and it's not a number that we can sort of accurately quote, oh, it's definitely 200 feet down or whatever. So I don't really like to get into it. That being said, this website provides good resources for looking up what wells in that area, what the depth is of wells in that area. You know, when you come back to the Rio Rancho map here, you've got a portion of Rio Rancho that is certainly being serviced by city utilities like this. But when you get out further, like out to here, this is not an area where you're going to find city water lines. Further out you get out here, you're dealing with people who have drilled wells. And when you have this many people in a small concentrated region who have drilled wells, it usually means that the water table is pretty accessible and pretty inexpensive. Now maybe out here it's a different question, but those are good questions to address to local well drillers, local vendors, people who do that sort of thing for a living. Whatever the case, this is a property that we closed on with New Mexico Land and Title, so it's one we got title insurance on. One will be providing a warranty deed on. So if this or the other property that we're profiling in this video appeal to you and you want to purchase either one of them, come up here, click the Buy Now button. It's going to take you to a secure checkout. We're going to ask you a couple questions here. Name for deed, name or names, you, your wife, your husband, your 12 kids, whatever. Tax address, where's the county going to send the yearly tax bill? Agree to the terms of service, click Next. And on the very next page, you're going to be entering credit or debit card information. So every property that's listed on Hemingway Land are ones that we own. So once you give us money for them, as far as we are concerned, you are now the owner. Go out there, knock yourself out, begin camping, begin building, begin doing whatever you want to do. That being said, the process goes a little something like this. You're going to get a receipt from us immediately after purchase saying that you gave us money for something. Within 24 hours, we're going to have a deed to you in an email. Once you approve it, once you tell us we spelled your name right, things like that, we're going to autograph it, notarize it, mail it off to Sandoval County to be recorded. They will record and they will forward on to you. So we always tell our buyers from start to finish, it's about 3 weeks before that recorded deed is in your hand. That being said, as noted, once you give us money, the land is yours to do with as you please. If you guys have any questions, please leave a comment here on the YouTube. Shoot us a call, 702-919-7170, or give us an email at support@hemingwayland.com. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in the next video.